everybody. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody had a good weekend. Please let me know if you can hear me. Um, I want to make sure that my audio is working. I don't know why it seems so high right now. I have a lot to talk about tonight. First things first, if you are watching and you have questions or topics you'd like to cover, please start leaving them in the live chat. Um, hold on a second. And I have a few other things to say that I want to start bringing back my intros, my disclaimers and stuff like that. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Hope everybody's doing well. Where's everybody coming from? It always surprises me to see where people live around the world. Okay. So my disclaimers, as always, is that I'm not an expert. I'm not a therapist or researcher, anything like that. I just have the experience of being intimately acquainted with this psychological abuse, otherwise known as parental alienation. And I also have a lot of technological difficulties. If you've been here for a little bit now, you might know that. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out and make this members only. I hope it's already members only, but I had to set it up a weird way. And so I want to make sure I have some settings correct, but okay, let me try to edit this and get the settings correct. Sorry, guys. Hang in there with me, please. And if you have any questions, yeah, like I said, or topics you'd like to cover. I hear a lot of times from people there are certain topics they want to hear about, and I can't promise I have the answers. Again, I'm not a therapist, but I might be able to expose or give you insight on some stuff, hopefully. And if you have been through this as a child, I'm so sorry. So sorry for you. Hopefully you can gain some type of support, or at least the feeling of knowing you're not alone through my channel. If you're new here, I have several playlists. So if you check out the playlists, I have a playlist for targeted parents, for former alienated children, survivors as experts, media and news. I have a lot of playlists. And there is one for former alienated children videos I've made for former alienated children, 43 videos in that playlist. So I don't know if I was able to change the settings. If you could let me know. My computer's also acting wacky, so hopefully I can see your messages in a minute if I try to change the settings. Oh boy. You would think that I would have this down by now. It is a struggle for me. So thank you for your patience. Okay. Today, first things first is I want to share some resources I found, and I think that might be helpful. So if you've watched any interviews on my channel, you may have seen the interview I did with Andrew Folklore. He is a former alienated child who speaks out. He has a blog. I did an interview with him. He's been, I think, in a couple panel discussions as well on my channel. But I've done an interview with Andrew. He's a really awesome guy. And he just started a blog on Substack. It's called, oh, I'll find it. Hold on. I'm going to send it in the chat. I'm going to send you this blog he started in Substack. And I think it's really good. I've read all of the articles he's included now, and yeah, I think it's really good. And I think that some people might find it really helpful out there. He uses some knowledge that he's gained in other areas of his life, especially through other books he's read, like tactics the FBI use, and just different things that I've never considered before that I think people might find really helpful or insightful. So it's called Shortening the Red Thread, and I have a video coming out on one of the articles that he wrote. I talked to him about it. He said, yeah, you're welcome to share. So I'm going to put this in the comment, in the live chat, sorry. Oh, I need to figure out how to live stream. I've only been doing this for, what, almost 2 years now. It's almost been 2 years since I started this project. Almost 2 years. Okay, I'm finally seeing the live chats. Hello, everybody. Here's Andrew Folkler's Substack. Okay. And it seems like people can hear. Okay, that's great. Glad you can hear me. Um, okay. Audrey Blessman says, "Hi, Maddie. I'm hoping you're stronger than ever and have a new appreciation for Dr. Childress." So that's kind of what I'm talking today, actually, is the new direction I'm taking with this project. It's going to be a new direction. Also, getting back, it's a new direction, but at the same time, getting back to uh, my initial goals. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to try to make it so. Or you know what? I'm going to prioritize the members' comments. I'm going to only respond to members. That's how I'm going to have to make this members only. Sorry about that, guys. So, let me begin. Um, a few updates. The website is back up and I'm working on improving it. I know it's not the best, but I'm working on improving it by adding resources, making it more appealing and more helpful for child survivors, less so geared towards parents. Um, I've also been collaborating more and more with people in this space, like Robert Garza in particular, if you've seen those interviews, and Dorsey Pruder, who who's a former alienated child herself, the first to speak out actually online. And she has a program to help families, and she follows the work of Dr. Childress, which is what I'm going to get into tonight. So she's actually putting together a program for healing for adult alienated children, and I'm going to take part in her program starting, I think, in the next few weeks. And I'm really, really excited about that because there's been basically no other support or resources for the specific child abuse that I went through. So, it's going to be really great. Hopefully it'll help me. I think it will because I've already done a little bit of healing work with Dorsey and it's helped me a ton already. So I think if it helps me, which I have high hopes that it will, I will plan on sharing this resource with others. Also, you can look forward to some upcoming interviews with other child survivors. And what I want to share more than anything is that's it. That my focus here is on the kids going through the same psychological abuse I went through for 20 years. It has always been my focus has always been on the kids. Parents, legal reformers, politicians, etc., they all have other outlets which can help them, but the kids experiencing this abuse have basically no voice. They have no one standing up for them who have been through it like they are going through it. So, a big part of my thought process lately has been to get back to where I began. And I didn't completely lose sight of the kids going through it, never lost sight of the kids going through it, but I need to narrow my focus once more and really shine a light on on this abuse from the kids' point of view. It's easy to get sidetracked. I get a lot of emails from a lot of people, from mostly parents, but also people wanting me to be on their podcast, people wanting me to be on their conferences. And if it's not related to directly helping the kids going through it, I just have to say no. So, that now I also want to say that as my project has grown, I think as any person naturally would, it's been a little bit more difficult for me to be completely honest, especially because you have so much feedback coming to you and so many opinions thrown your way. And I reposted this video the other day, which was one of my first videos, How Can I Get My Child Back? And I realized in that video, I was much more relaxed. I was much more honest. And that's also what I want to get back to, just being able to speak my mind without worrying about what people are going to say. So that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. If that's not your cup of tea, no problem. I mean, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and some people aren't gonna like what I have to say, and that's fine. But basically, before I begin what I'm going to say, um, I'm going to hopefully I can send this in the chat. If not, hold on a second. I know how I can do this. All right. I'm going to share something with you guys. Okay. I'm going to share something with you guys right now. Okay. So these are four diagnoses. These are four diagnoses that parental alienation, the abuse I experienced, can already be diagnosed as. This is not even including the shared delusional disorder that I recently went live about. So there are five diagnoses in total already that can diagnose what your children, or if you've been through this as a child, what you went through, what I went through. If a psychologist, maybe a psychiatrist, if a mental health provider had been able to use one of these diagnoses to identify and treat the symptoms of the abuse and to provide me with a protective order from my abusive parent, the course of my life would be completely different. I would be a different person completely. I would have had 20 years of a good relationship, a close relationship with my dad. I wouldn't have believed for 20 years that I am unlovable, that I am not good enough. All these very destructive beliefs that led me down self-destructive paths and a lot of suffering, a lot of physical suffering as well, because when you're ongoing day in and day out trauma and abuse, it affects your body. These four diagnoses, let's just read them. Adjustment disorder with mixed disturbance of emotions and conduct. It's in the DSM-5. Parent-child relational problem in the DSM-5. Child affected by parental relationship distress. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but that's in the DSM-5. Child psychological abuse in the DSM-5. I wanted to share that because, to be honest with you guys, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling angry. Why am I feeling angry? Because I could have been saved. My 20 years of ongoing trauma and abuse could have been avoided. But it's not just about me though. No, 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 no. I'm angry because there are millions of kids out there right now being abused, going through intense, inescapable day-to-day trauma and abuse. It's going to cause them to have either c-ptsd or develop a lot of other issues. It's going to ruin their life, essentially, and they could be saved. They could be saved if mental health professionals were informed and they knew these diagnoses. Now that leads me to the next part, which is why don't mental health professionals already know how to diagnose children experiencing the psychological abuse I went through? Why don't they know this already? And if you're wondering this question as well, I don't blame you because it doesn't make sense. What do we want to do? Maybe not everybody, but like me, what do I want to do? I want to help kids going through this. That's it. The end of story. Help kids going through this. That's all I want to do. It's what I wanted to do from day one. Wake up other alienated kids, help them, do what Ryan Thomas did for me, but hopefully do even more. Be able to provide them with support and resources to heal. And I fell down a rabbit hole when I first figured everything out of believing in all this research on parental alienation, which is a term that we have used. And I fell down the hole of believing the 5-factor model, the 17 alienating behaviors, all this stuff from all these experts who their main purpose is to get the term parental alienation put into the DSM. So for the past 20 years, the PSAG and all the experts in the PSAG, they have been committed financially, all of their time, effort, energy, everything has been to get parental alienation into the DSM. They have failed. Part of the reason I think they failed is because It's become politicized. The term has become political. And that is not why I am here. That's not what I'm here to talk about tonight. My point is, why have they spent 20 years, so much time, entire careers, so much money, so much effort into trying to get the abuse I went through labeled as parental alienation and in the DSM, when that abuse that I went through can already be diagnosed 5 different ways? We can help kids right now with these diagnoses. These diagnoses require, I believe, in my opinion, I believe at least the shared delusional disorder. Sorry, for shared delusional disorders, part of the treatment process for that, once you get a diagnosis of that on a child, what is it? It's a protective order for that child to be removed from their harmful parent. If psychological abuse, child psychological abuse can already be diagnosed in children right now. And what's the treatment? To remove them from their abusive parent, to protect them, to help them right now. Not in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years when or if parental alienation gets approved by the DSM. Right now. So I'm starting to understand what Dorsey, Pruder, and what Dr. Childress and their supporters have been saying this whole time, which is that all of the professionals who are arguing for parental alienation to be added to the DSM, they're actually just distracting from the fact that we could actually help kids already. I don't have a career to lose. In fact, I don't want to be doing this much longer. I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. So I am more motivated than ever to solve this issue and contribute as much help as I can to the cause, because I have other goals with my life. I have always had a lot of goals to achieve in my life. This never was one of them ever. So I want this to end more than anyone. And if we can already identify, diagnose, and treat the abuse and separate the child from their abuser, why the heck are we spending so much time and money and effort over here when that might not even work out at all? So that's why I'm mad. That's why I'm a little frustrated and sorry. I know I just went on this little rant, but that's where I'm coming from tonight. I'm going to look at the chat for a second. That's where I'm coming from tonight, guys, to be completely honest with you. And oh my God, Sophie's back. Sophie, you're getting banned from my channel. The last live chat I had, there's this girl, Sophie, who's just a flying monkey. Ignore her, guys. And last time that I had a live chat, I put her in timeout for 24 hours and I gave her a warning. So Sophie, you're getting banned. Let me ban her. Hold on. Hide user from this channel. Okay, moving on. So now, I also want to say, if this is confusing to you, or if this is like, what the heck, alarming to you, or you might not even agree with me. You might think that their research is valid. You might think that these experts and that parental alienation should be added to the DSM. You may believe that. I would just challenge you to open your mind for however long this live chat is. Just open your mind a tiny bit, like you would encourage your own alienated kids to do, because it is hard to admit that you've gotten things wrong. I know firsthand how hard it is to admit that I got 20 years of my life wrong, that I had everything backwards. That is so hard to admit. And I think a lot of these professionals don't want to admit that. Like, they will never admit that. And so maybe there's a different route I need to take to get this message out. I know that Dorsey Pruder and Dr. Childress have paved the way. They have taken this message, which is not even their work necessarily. Dr. Childress has even said that these are not my diagnoses that I came up with, he says. He just points them out, the fact that we can already diagnose and treat this. And so I'm furthering that message. That is what I believe. Dr. Childress's work reflects my beliefs for the most part. I hope that clears things up. Glow and Co. Organics says, my son was alienated against me for 9 years now after a horrendous divorce from my narcissistic husband. By the way, I think it's Narcissistic Recovery Awareness Day or something like that. So go us. Glow and Co. says he will be 24 years old this month. It's devastating to hear that only 10% of children came back. So Dr. Burnett, in one of the first episodes I did, and yes, he's in charge of the PSAG. He's in charge of that organization I was talking about. I interviewed him when I first started my project. I didn't know much about this stuff at all. So I've been learning in real time. I've made mistakes. Some of my videos, they might have information that I do not agree with anymore. I learned from my mistakes. And that statistic comes from that interview, or maybe he said it elsewhere as well. But in that interview, I asked him what percentage of alienated kids, if it extends into adulthood, will eventually realize the truth. And he said about 10%. Now, do I think you should focus on that number and give up hope because of that number from that one professional? Absolutely not. Never give up hope. No, I wouldn't even worry about that. Glow and Co. said, I think you mean to say coercive control, possibly. Coercive control has just been acknowledged as domestic abuse here in Australia. We need parental alienation to be acknowledged by law as domestic abuse too. I guess my question is, like, what will that change? Because parental alienation is just a term. It's not in the DSM. We can't get a diagnosis or save children with that term. We can save children with the diagnosis of child psychological abuse. So it's a matter of getting people to understand that and really implement that, and to educate not only legislators and family court and do the reform that's needed there, which is not my that's not my lane, but to recognize that the abuse I went through is child psychological abuse, along with those 5 other diagnoses that we just talked about. Glow and Co. Organic says, in the past 3 years, my son has been seesawing as responding to my texts, but then disappearing again. Okay, so yeah, that's very normal for an alienated child. I was recently talking to Dorsey Pruder. I have to give her credit for this because she said, Dorsey recently told me that that's common for alienated kids because sometimes the targeted parents can push too hard, too fast, and the child gets scared. The child gets scared and retreats. That can be a possibility. There are a lot of possibilities for why that may happen. Being consistent is important. Being consistent okay, thank you. I want to point this out. Trisha said parental alienation is a layman's term. Yes, it is diagnosable as those 5 diagnoses I pointed out at the beginning of the live chat. But parental alienation itself is a layman's term. And here's another thing that I've struggled with is because people have asked me, what is your stance on the term parental alienation now that you've like switched your views a little bit? And, I'm the Anti-Alienation Project, so it does matter. The reason why I think there is some utility to the term parental alienation, now take it or leave it, whether you believe me or whether you agree with me, is that resonated with me. And I've talked to a bunch of other adult child survivors that it resonates with us. It resonates with them. It resonates with me. It resonates with us. When we learn about parental alienation, just the term alone, it resonates. It it does help wake people up to what they've been through. And I've talked to targeted parents who have agreed with me that when they learn the term parental alienation, they're able to understand what they went through. Whereas child psychological abuse is very broad, and a lot of abused kids, it takes a while to admit you've been abused. So it's not black and white. I don't think that we need to get rid of the term altogether necessarily. It's just a layman's term, though. It's not going to lead to a diagnosis or actual help. Um, yeah, if there are any topics you want me to cover, just go ahead and leave them in the chat. So KS says, my 19-year-old son is always mad. He asks me for gas to come visit, and I always want to help him as his dad charges him rent. He says I need gas to visit people near you. He is scared to visit. Well, I understand why he would be scared to visit. Depending on how much he knows about this and how his relationship is with his other parent, is I don't know how much, I don't know those circumstances, but it feels like you're betraying your parent, your alienating parent. It feels like you're betraying them, by even wanting to visit your other parent or by visiting your other parent. And there's real reason that this fear exists. Well, a lot of the time, once adult alienated children figure out the truth, reach out to that parent or visit that parent, a lot of time they do face real repercussions, real, real repercussions. This can be as slight as, the silent treatment when they get back home. It can be to get the cold shoulder, or it can be that your parent, your alienating parent, wants you reconnect with the other parent. It could be that your alienating parent cuts you out of their life. So what can happen, what happened to me, and what happens to a lot of people is that when they realize the truth, reconnect with their parent they've rejected the whole time, it does happen that the alienating parent discards you and does a smear campaign on you, just like they previously did on your targeted parent. This is such a weird dynamic because my dad and I can relate on so many levels to a lot of things, because the way my mom discarded my dad and smear campaigned my dad, made up lies about my dad, is the same way my mom discarded me and smear campaigned me and made lies up against me. So what they do to you, the parent, after the divorce or during the alienation, is what they often do to the child once the child learns the truth and reconnects with their other parent. So I'm trying to just express how that fear your son has is very valid, because he actually faces the possibility of losing the relationship with his other parent if he visits you. That's an extreme example. It doesn't always happen like that, but yes, it can. She says, yes, betrayal, I understand. What can I say to him? He gets in trouble for wanting to see me. I have recordings, but I don't know how to help. Well, he's 19 years old, so he's, he can make his own decisions because there's no custody agreement when you're 19 years old. Yes, I don't want him to feel cut from his dad. I was abused by his dad. It's very hard. Be his rock, be his consistent, safe, loving parent. That's the best advice that I could give. He needs you very, very much. I'm sure he appreciates you very, very much. And as time goes on, once he sees you and your consistency, your healthy, unconditional love, I do believe that he will eventually gain the strength to make his own decisions and for what's in his true best interests. I hope that makes sense. A lot of people are saying that Dr. Childress has really helped them. And I'm really glad to hear that that this is resonating with some people. It's it's confusing for someone who went through this as a child to have people claim to have the child's best interest at heart, but their decades of work haven't actually led to massive change, massive um give me a second. Um yeah, okay, I'm seeing a lot of comments that you guys seem very informed actually about Dr. Childress's work. So I have a couple of videos coming out about more of what Dr. Childress has shared, and the APBA, yeah, everything like that. Um, Glow and Co Organics says, I'm so happy to have found your channel and to hear your perspective. Everything your mom did to you, I know my son's father did. It's unbelievable that all alienators do the same thing. It's okay, so at first it's like, do they have their own playbook they all follow? But it all comes back to the pathology, like what they call a personality disorder. That's why you see the same patterns and the same effects on the child, the same patterns of effects on the children too. It's all coming from the same pathology. That's why. So it's actually, I think once you understand that, um, it's not unbelievable anymore. It makes perfect sense. Actually, the more research you do, the more you can predict what they're going to do next. And they're not sly once you get to that point. So I'm building bridges. I see a comment about building bridges. So have you guys heard of the PSAG conference in Toronto? Um, I might be going to the PSAG conference in Toronto, but I simply want to share the message that I have just shared with you about the diagnoses. And we'll see what happens there. But if so, I'll be using any donations that I've received to go to Toronto to speak at the PSAG conference. I think this message is so important. If we can save kids right now, why the heck aren't we doing it? Why aren't we doing it in you know, every mental health therapist needs to have continuing education on how to identify, diagnose, and treat the abuse I went through. End of story. That's my belief. And if you see a shift in my videos or my message that reflects that, that's why. Okay. So I wanted to share another resource with you guys because I have a feeling it's mostly parents on here tonight, which is totally fine. I'm happy you're here. Thank you for being here. But I came across something on Facebook that I was tagged in, and I love this. I think it might help shift some people's perspective out there. So just listen to this and tell me what you think, please. I want to hear what you guys think. This is by Carrie Ann George, and she shared this on Facebook to a group. I read it and thought wow, this might help some parents out there. So I'm gonna read it and just hang with me for a second because it's not too short, but it's not too long either. Just give me a chance here with this. It's by Carrie Ann and George. To the alienated parent, a new way to see. Oh, shout out to Jack Loop for sending me this. It says, what if your child wasn't stolen, just temporarily out of reach? What if this painful separation isn't the end of a story, but the middle chapter of a much greater one? And what if right now the person who alienated you is not raising your child, but babysitting your child until they're strong enough to see through the distortion, until they're brave enough to ask questions, until they remember who you really are, because they will. Children grow, they reflect, they see patterns, and eventually they leave the lies. Here's the truth. Your child is still your child. That connection is not erased. It's interrupted. I just want to interrupt myself here to say that's absolutely true. I believe that is absolutely true for what it's worth. I know I'm just some random girl on the internet, but that's what was true for me. It really. And when they break free, they won't need you to be perfect. They'll need you to be safe, present, grounded, and healed enough to not collapse when they finally say, "Why didn't you fight harder?" I told that to my dad. I said, "Why didn't you fight harder?" I did. Why did they say those things about you? Why did I believe them? All of this I definitely have said to my dad. Your child will need you to be whole enough to say, "I never stopped loving you. You were never the problem. You're home now and you're safe." So in this post, she encourages parents to reframe the pain. You didn't lose your child. They were pulled onto a path that they have to walk for now. Yes, it is unfair, but this path is shaping their character in ways you can't see yet. Oh my gosh, I'm getting shiver bumps. That's so true. Because earlier when I said I wouldn't be the same person I am, I'm also grateful for that person I am. I'm grateful for the experiences I went through. It sounds so crazy, but I'm grateful in a way to have gone through this abuse because I have gained certain character traits, certain insights, certain perspectives on life that I would not otherwise have. So this post is just hitting me hard. It's hit me really hard. The alienating parent is a temporary detour, not a permanent destination. You weren't rejected. You were removed, but only from access, not from love. You don't have to stay stuck in guilt. What happened, happened. What can you do now? That's where your power lives. So here's what she says to do now. One is to heal your nervous system. By the way, these points are very applicable, not just for parents, but for children who've been through it. These points, I think most of them, not all of them, but most of them are applicable for both sides of the coin. So number one, she says, heal your nervous system. So that when they come back, they come home to peace and not pain. Number two is stop blaming yourself. You can't change the past, but you can change who you become. Yeah. Three, people aren't going to like hearing this, but see this time as sacred. Use it to rebuild your identity, your health, your purpose so that you're ready. You have to be ready for when your kids come back, or they might not be as ready to reconnect with you. Four is focus on the long game. Your children are yours for life. Childhood is just the beginning. Five is keep loving them silently. Your love still reaches them, even through silence, even through lies. Energy never lies. Your child's story isn't over, and neither is yours. Yes, they were robbed of the connection they should have had, but they'll remember, they'll question, they'll come home. When they do, let them find the strongest version of you. One who didn't give up, the one who grew in the shadows, the one who became the safest place they've ever known. Because in the end, your children are your children for life, and life always finds its way back to love. I just love that. I really do. I also in particularly I love um the the way it says that the parent who's loved them all along becomes the safest place they've ever known. And I think that's because that's what I've experienced with my dad. After 2 decades of being treated like everything I did and said and was me was a problem. Um, After 20 years of psychological abuse day in and day out, to have a parent who can have healthy boundaries, who can emotionally regulate themselves, who can support me, really support me when I need them. it feels just the way they described it. It feels like the safest place you've ever known. I hope that some of that was helpful. Um, uh, LV Undefeated says, I have to pretend my kid is at boarding school. That's really sad. I'm really sorry. I never stopped being that everyday parent in the heart. Show consistency, be brave. Yes. So I guess one thing is like imagine for parents out there listening, um, I love the metaphor of your kid's not gone. Your kid's not stolen. They're just temporarily out of reach. Because imagine if your child showed up at your doorstep tomorrow. How would you feel differently about the time that has passed without them? No, literally, think about it. If your child showed up at your doorstep tomorrow or called you tomorrow wanting to know your side of the story, wanting to try to make a relationship, is there anything that you would change about that time you spent without them? Is there anything that you would have done differently during that time you were away from each other? Would you have maybe, tried to build your life up in some way so that when they come back, that you have more to give them? Would you try to learn how to heal yourself and emotionally regulate yourself so that when they come back, and trust me, they're going to come back a very traumatized shell of themselves, needing help with emotional regulation, so that when they come back, you can help them with that? If there's anything that comes to mind that you would do differently, imagining that your child comes home tomorrow, start doing those things and stop doing those things that you would have regretted doing. Is this easy? No, this is hard as hell. Recovering from this as a child, also hard as hell. There are so many days where, well, not at the beginning, there were a lot of these days. Even now, though, sometimes I will have a hard day. I will have a hard day where my urge might be to um, pull away from people in my life or like just stay in bed, like depression. Depression wants to rule over, or anxiety wants to rule over. And that is hard. Sometimes the time alone that you spent under the intense mind control of an abusive parent while being weaponized against your other loving parent, it's too much to really, really sit with. It's too much. It's too much to sit with. It's very overwhelming. You have a lot of guilt, and it's hard to comprehend sometimes. Sometimes my head flashes back to parts of my mom that really do exist, that are nice and that are funny, and times where I thought that I was really experiencing parental love. Just thinking about some of these things sometimes can get me so down, and it's hard as heck to choose not to isolate, to choose not to stay in bed, but instead go outside and force my butt to go for a run. That's not easy. That's not easy at all. That's not easy at all. And I know that a lot of parents going through this probably have a similar experience. So you cannot give up hope. You cannot give up hope. KS says, as a child, I was prevented from seeing my mom, and I remember being so sad. So I know my son is dealing with similar pain. Yes. No child cuts off their parent unless there has been like a worst case scenario situation where they have no choice but to cut off their parent in order to be safe. No child makes that decision. And even the children that are manipulated to reject their parents in this case scenario, that pain never leaves. So if you have a loved one, a parent or a child that you're cut off from, whether it's through manipulation or not, that pain never leaves. And I think it's one of the saddest things that I see is when parents have adopted the belief that their child no longer cares about them, or their child no longer thinks of them, or their child no longer loves them. Because I guarantee you that's not the case. That's not the case at all. In fact, the reason why they do all these self-destructive behaviors, the reason why alienated kids often have depression or anxiety or attachment problems or drug and alcohol abuse or eating disorders or OCD or whatever the case may be, the reason why they have that pain that comes out as self-destructive behaviors is because they love you so much, is because they haven't forgot their parent. They haven't forgotten. And that hurts a lot to carry that every day. So in a lot of the ways, I've seen this since the beginning, a lot of the ways that parent and that child are experiencing very, very, very similar pain. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that my dad and I experienced similar pain when we were pitted against each other. It's not a coincidence that we both developed autoimmune conditions after years of this trauma at the same time. These are not coincidences. And I've also been noticing a lot of similarities, like of alienated kids that I don't see talked about a lot anywhere. So the way Dr. Childress explains it as a shared delusional disorder, and I've also learned a lot of this from Dorsey Pruder, so shout out to Dorsey, is that it's like an encapsulated delusion, a persecutory delusion encapsulated. So you can have an intelligent person who just has a delusion in one aspect of their life. This is my experience is that my parent had an encapsulated delusion that my dad, upon their divorce, was bad, selfish, didn't love me, abusive, narcissistic, the list goes on. This is all an encapsulated delusion my parent had and therefore enforced on me. And what I've seen, what I've noticed, in my opinion, I'll say in my opinion, because I don't have any studies on this, I don't have any statistics on this, but I'm curious to hear in the chat if you guys have any real life experience with this. I've seen that these parents who have this delusion and force it on their child in this way and alienate them and abuse them, they also might have an encapsulated persecutory delusion or something of that nature in other aspects of their life. For example, this is one that I want to talk about. It's similar to fictitious disorder imposed on another. And I think in this case scenario, I think how it works is that the child is being abused. Because of the abuse, naturally, the child develops some issues. It usually happens pretty quickly. You see a child who is normal range, healthy, happy, whatever, they're themselves, their natural childhood self. And then all of a sudden the child is so different. It's almost as if they're gone. It's almost as if they've left. So I'll take my story for an easy example because I know my story very well. I was a confident kid. I was very outgoing kid. I knew who I was. I knew who I liked. I might have been weird, but I didn't care. I said things how it was. I said it how it was. I was honest. I was not afraid to speak my mind. And then the abuse really set in, day out, day in, day out. Never can escape it. Always feeling bad about myself. I, my parent, we'll just call it the delusional parent, and I'm not meaning that in a negative way. It's just the facts. My delusional parent noticed, oh my God, my daughter, something's wrong with her. Instead of thinking, wow, I need to change my behavior. I think this situation, this environment, my behavior might be affecting my child really negatively. No, instead they notice the change in the child and they think my child has a problem. And what do? They usually take them to a therapist and they take them to a psychiatrist. And that's what happened. So my mom noticed I was acting very different. I was not myself. I was showing different signs of different problems. And so, boom, I was diagnosed with childhood depression, childhood anxiety disorder. Now, what would have happened if instead of being diagnosed with childhood depression and childhood anxiety disorder, I imagine sometimes what would have happened if instead I was taken out of that environment? I would not have been diagnosed with those two conditions. But it doesn't stop there because more often than not, I would say, okay, so getting those two diagnoses, they might go to therapy to try to help the child. Regular talk therapy is not going to help the child. It might actually make everything worse for the child. And so they think of it as, oh my God, the child is not improving. We should try medication. We need to take it to the next level. We need medication because the child's not improving. Yeah, no, I mean, no wonder the child's not improving because they're still in the same abusive parent environment with the same abusive parent. And you're talking circles around the whole situation, blaming it on the parent who's actually normal range, healthy, and loving. So they start some medications. And it might not just be childhood depression or anxiety disorder. It might be ADHD they misdiagnosed the child with. It might be ADD of what they diagnose the child with. It might be OCD. Whatever they diagnose the child with, it's a misdiagnosis because it's the abuse causing the symptoms and the behaviors. But they never identify the abuse. So what happens? These conditions that the child does not actually have get worse and worse and worse. They're put on more and more and more medications that never solve the problem. So they up the doses. They up the doses and they up the medications and they add more medications and they add new treatments and new doctors. And then what happens next? Well, as it often happens with people with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which these children more than likely have, because that is what happens when you have inescapable abuse and trauma day in and day out. You develop a certain type of PTSD, complex PTSD. And that complex PTSD, being in a constant state of fight or flight mode, it wears on your body and your system. So what happens next? Oh, these kids, they develop health concerns. They develop legitimate health concerns. And so the parents like, oh my God, my child's now sick. And so they might take them to the doctor, take them to a specialist, take them somewhere to get the child's health concerns fixed. Well, what's the cause of the child's health concern? It's the abuse. And yet no one is ever stopping that abuse and that trauma. So what happens to the child's health? It gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I hope this makes sense about how this particular um, pathology in the parent can cause a type of fictitious disorder imposed on another. It's sick. And I also want to mention that fictitious disorder imposed on another has an extremely high mortality rate. It's a 10% mortality rate. Extremely high. And this all circles back to what I wanted to talk about at the beginning of the whole live chat, which is the importance of those 5 diagnoses, the importance of them. Because if we can identify, diagnose, and treat this abuse when it first starts, when it first begins, we can avoid the diagnosis, the misdiagnoses. We can avoid the medications. We can avoid the health problems. We can avoid the 10% mortality rate. Guys, this happened to me. This all happened to me. This all happened to me. I'm not going to be quiet about it anymore. This all happened to me. This all happened to me. And the worst part is that if my dad had been in my life, he would have protected me from this crap. He would have protected me from all of it. And that's why I've said since day one, if a child is enduring severe psychological abuse, it's very probable they're experiencing other types of abuse, whether it's physical, sexual, religious, medical. This is serious stuff. The amount of people I've talked to, I've interviewed on this channel, that I've had conversations with behind the interviews where they too have experienced the same outcomes, medications, misdiagnoses, health problems. Suddenly your life is in shambles and you can hardly live. It's not just me. It's not just me. It's across the board. It's across the board. And we have this whole industry, like these professionals or these experts, whatever, who are just focused for 20 years on getting 2 words into a freaking book, while millions of children are going to be over-medicated, misdiagnosed, enduring health complications that may shorten their life, make their life debilitating. These parents deserve to be in jail. I'm seeing a lot of really nice comments, and I'm sorry I'm not replying to all of them. I really do appreciate all the support. If you're watching and you think this message is important, please like the video because that'll get it in the algorithm. Or please share the video if you think somebody needs to see this. Um, so my message moving forward is going to be mm, maybe more blunt, maybe more direct. I'm definitely going to stop catering to anyone except for the kids going through this. That's who I'm here for. And like I said, I just want this to change as fast as possible because, guys, I don't want to be doing this forever. It's not easy. Like, there are a lot of days when I just want to stop. Um, Thank you, Greg. Greg said, can't talk. Didn't mean to get so emotional in this video, but that's the message I've been wanting to share for months, and I didn't know how to put it into words. And so I hope you guys resonate with what I've said. I hope that if you've been through this, you know that you're not alone, that your parent has their own psychological issues, and that you don't have a million problems with yourself, but that your parent projected all of that crap onto you. Um, and if I do seem more angry or just done, it's because I am. I am angry. And before we wrap up, I just want to say something from the heart to anyone who's watching this, anyone who's in the middle of this storm. And you guys, don't feel sorry for me. Don't feel bad for me. I'm on the other side of this. I have, um, I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm on the other side of that. That's why I feel a duty to help the people still in it, because I consider it a minor miracle that I am on the other side of it. Stan, I'm gonna talk about this for a second, because Stan says, how do you want us to help you reach these kids you want to help? Okay. Since the beginning, I've had a lot of people flag my account, report my account. That goes on. They actually got my TikTok shut down. Which is so sad, because most of these kids are on TikTok, and I was making really good headway. I had over 1 million views on TikTok and 10,000 followers, and then they suspended my account indefinitely because of the amount of people, mostly people who want to claim that this abuse is not real. They report my account every single day. So it's not shown in the algorithm, and my project is not growing as fast as I would have liked it to at all, at all. So anytime anyone likes a video or shares a video or subscribes, mm, anything like that, or reaches out, you can reach out to like a news resource or like a podcast that is more well known than I am, and we can get the message out that way if they'll have me on their podcast. I'm trying to think of other things you can do. Um, because I am narrowing down, I'm trying everything I can do to think of how I can get into the right algorithms, get to the right audience. If you see me make these videos on family vloggers, or if you see me like um dissect a random video of some random person talking bad about their co-parent, I'm doing that for a very strategic reason. It's because younger people follow these family vloggers. Younger people follows these certain young influencers. And if I can get into that algorithm of these people watching those influencers, then I can wake up way more alienated kids. So, for example, I did a video on Kira Stevenson. I did a video on Gypsy Rose Blanchard because she's alienated from her dad. And regardless of how you feel about those people, in the comment sections of those videos where I do commentary on what seems like stupid drama going on with these random influencers, in the comment section, it's a whole different story. You're going to see in those comment sections a ton of people saying like, wait, this is actually abuse. This is what I went through. Or, oh, I haven't seen my dad in 10 years. Is this really possible? So people learn what they've been through, and I am achieving my goals by doing those what seem like silly videos. Um, I've also tried to tap into like people who think they're estranged, but they're really alienated. So if you see any videos where I'm like alienated or estranged, or if you think that you're estranged, watch this video. I'm trying to get to those kids, because the whole time with my dad, I um I thought I was estranged. And so if I were watching anything on YouTube, maybe it would be no contact estrangement. It wouldn't have been alienation. So I've been racking my brain for how I can achieve my mission here. Um, Oh yeah, anyone who wrote an email to Joe Rogan, I asked people if they could reach out to Joe Rogan and try to get him to have a parental alienation podcast, and I'm willing to go on it. Some people were telling me that those emails were bouncing back, so you might have to go to his website and submit a request. Really sorry about that, guys. I thought I had the right email. Um, oh yeah, I have merch. Some people are asking about that. I have merch. You can go to it's on Spreadshop. I also have an Etsy with other things. So they have like they have like I have some t-shirts, I have some stickers, I think a bumper sticker, some caps, some totes, some sweatshirts, and I've been thinking about doing more of that. I also have a way, if you go to my website, the anti-alienationproject.com, you can find more of this stuff. And Um, yeah, I would be able to enact more with funding. Stan says, do you have a plan? Would you be able to enact if you had funding? I'm so grateful for all the donations I've received since I started this project. I was very focused on college campaigns before I got pregnant and had a very high risk pregnancy. So I had to end the college campaigns for a second. Um, but I'm still very happy to receive donations um, to so that I can speak at conferences and that I can hopefully get these college campaigns up and going once my child is a little bit more grown up. And yes, I have started a new TikTok, but I only have like 300 followers now instead of 10,000. So I'm starting from the ground up now on TikTok. So those are some ways that you can support. Um, I'm trying to think of something fun to do when I reach 20,000 subscribers because I'm almost at 20,000 subscribers. And I still have some black anti-alienation t-shirts. So I was thinking maybe doing like a t-shirt giveaway when I get to 20,000 subscribers. Uh yeah, I've been invited to speak at a few conferences and I'm still deciding which ones to say yes to. I have three little kids. I'm a stay-at-home mom and I just don't have the time to go to every conference and speak. But when I do speak at conferences, what I said tonight, especially at the beginning with the diagnoses, that's going to be my main message when I go to conferences. And when I do speaking engagements, if I do speaking engagements from now I'm really going to be honing in um, on those, what do you say, solutions, because um, for a long time, I've shared my story. I've shared different things in the community, but not really any straightforward, easy to implement solutions. And now that I've found them through the work of Dr. Childress and the help of Dorsey Pruder, I can now share those solutions and advocate for those solutions. So that's my plan moving forward. Why is my face itchy? Um, KS says, did you say you're going to a conference? I got invited to speak at the PSAG conference and I proposed to them. I said, yes, I'm interested in speaking, but here's what I would like to speak about, which are those 5 diagnoses that are already in the DSM-5. You can already diagnose the abuse I went through right now. You can identify, diagnose, and treat it right now. And I don't know what they're going to say to that because the whole purpose of the PSAG is to get parental alienation in the DSM. So we'll see what they say. If they do say that I can do that, I will be going to Ontario, Canada for the PSEG conference. And I would love that. I would love that to meet people specifically and to share that message. Although Dorsey Pruder and Dr. Childress have already been screaming that message to everyone for years now. So, um, Glow and Co says, how were you, Maddie, when you realized what had happened? How old are you now? I was 28 and am 31 now. So it was about 3 years ago. I have a whole playlist on YouTube called My Story. Most of your questions you can probably find there. I've been really open. I've been really open and honest about my experience. So especially in live Q&As and in those videos about my story. Anyway, guys, yeah, I hope you get that speech too. Um, I hope you get that speech too. So I interview anyone who's been through this as a child, I will interview them. I don't discriminate. I don't choose who to interview. I don't pick and choose between people. So I can't really highlight someone's story if they don't come to me wanting to be interviewed. But if I could find more sons alienated from their moms, I would interview them just like I would interview any other alienated child. I've done one interview with my dad. You can find that on my channel. And in response to highlighting whether dads alienate or moms alienate, I don't give, I don't care at all if it's a dad or a mom alienating. I don't even care about the statistics of who does it more, because even talking about that issue takes the spotlight off of the child, and the child is the one with no voice. The child is the one who needs protection. So I don't fulfill requests on interviews. I will interview anyone who's been through this as a child. That's pretty much it. It's not about picking and choosing. Oh, thanks. People tell me I look like someone. KS says that your interview with your dad was good. You look so much like your dad. Thank you. I actually get told a lot that I look like my mom, so it's funny to hear that I look like my dad. Um, okay. So we're getting close to the time, and to be honest with you, I have a busy day tomorrow, so I need to log off a little bit early tonight. Thank you for all of your questions. Thank you for being here and bearing with me as I share my opinions, my beliefs, my story. I I wouldn't do this if I didn't know how terrible of an existence it is as an alienated child. Um, and I'm not here because I've figured it all out. I'm here because I've lived through this. And I want you to know that these kids need help. They're not broken. If you're a parent out there, you're not broken. And the kids going through this, they're not crazy. They might feel crazy because they have all these effects playing out in their personality in their life with other people, and they can't identify the cause. So how are you supposed to get better if you don't even know what it is you're supposed to get better from? It's not fair. But anyone out there who thinks they're alone, who's been through this cycle of abuse, medication, misdiagnoses, health issues, and then you figure out the truth and you're discarded by the parent who did all of that to you, you're not alone. It is the horrible pain, I know that, but there is a life that you can create after all of that mistreatment. There's a reason to keep on going. I promise, even if you haven't found that reason yet. So thank you for being here, for listening, for having the courage to face hard truths and question things that you've held in your heart and beliefs that you've had for a long time. And the fact that you've been here watching this is evidence that you are wanting to heal and wanting to move forward and wanting to keep going, and you're worth it. Your children are worth it. And I hope to be able to share more of this in a way that I reach a larger audience. And I really appreciate everybody for sharing my videos, liking my videos, subscribing, donating, buying merch, whatever it is, any support. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a powerful experience and a very eye-opening experience. It's been part of my own healing journey doing this the past 2 years. But like I said, I don't want to do this forever. So this next year, I'm hitting it hard and I need your help. I need your help because these diagnoses, we can save kids now. It's going to take a little bit of time and it's going to take some help. It's going to take more than one person. But I need your help. And together, I think that we can do it. We can get that message out, get training from mental health professionals. I'm already talking to people who are working, like Robert Garza, on the legal aspects of things. It's been way too long with people distracting from real solutions. So 2025 is going to be the year that more kids get help. It has to be. So I hope everybody has a good week. I know this has been a heavy live chat, so take a breath. My kids are funny. At their school, they teach them this way to calm down, and they teach them like smell the coffee, breathe out or breathe on the coffee, like to smell it and then to cool it off by breathing out. So it's like smell the coffee, cool down the coffee. So they came home and they were doing this one day and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Your school is teaching you how to regulate. Anyway, much appreciation to everybody out there, every single one of you. I know that it's not easy, but never give up. Keep going. How do I end this? I need help with technology. How do I end this? Okay. Okay.